Ladies and gentlemen, in this video, I'm going to be doing two things. One, I'm going to be showing you a 10-year long macro trend that will be the difference between Bitcoin starting an early bull market and crashing down in a pre-halving correction. And then number two, I'm going to show you a very important, very potent fractal between right now and the November 2021 bull market top that indicates downside price action is next to come on Bitcoin. I will be assessing the nuance in each of these topics and assessing the invalidation zones as well. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the content.
Hey guys, before we get into it today, let's check out the VIP group on Telegram. If you want to trade altcoins with me on Telegram, you can do so 3 to 4 times a week. We've got a very profitable track record, a 78.52% win rate. We also have a group chat there where you can discuss the market 24/7 with 120 people. Check it out there on Telegram. The link is below. The BitGet and BingX exchange are good for trading, buying and selling cryptocurrency. BingX and BitGet are both very low in trading fees. BingX is global non-KYC. BitGet is global KYC minus the USA. Check them out with my referral links below for discounts. And then finally, if you want to learn how to trade, you can do it on the Crypto Academy's Become a Trader course. It's in the title, Become a Trader. If you complete this course, you can become a trader. You have the skills to do so. All of them links are down below. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the content today. So as per the title and as per the thumbnail potentially, I want to show you guys really what's important today, and that is the similarities we're seeing, or the potential similarities we're seeing between right now and 2021 November at the last bull market top. Obviously, me saying that is indicative of the fact that there is a chance that Bitcoin will still go downwards and still see a correction, as obviously the November 2021 top was the top of a structure and did lead to extensive moves for downside. So I don't think Bitcoin is necessarily in the clear yet. I think it's close though. Okay, and I'm going to go over this macro chart quickly, then we'll go into short-term charts and I'll show you what I really want to look at in this video. But this macro chart shows you something quite clear. It shows you a trend on Bitcoin. It shows you that there's a structural trend on Bitcoin in each cycle. This is not the same thing as the 4-year cycle, okay? Breaking this trend would not break the entire 4-year cycle as a whole, but it certainly would be a dent in the armor because it would mean that previously infallible trends can be broken, which could be indicative of further breaks in the 4-year cycle trend as we head into the middle and end of this year. So again, this would not be the end of the 4-year cycle if we break this trend, but it would be significant. So what we can see is that in every cycle, we have these yellow horizontal lines, okay? And you can see that we reject from these horizontal lines in yellow in every kind of pre-halving bullish phase. So we have this yellow horizontal line. It stems back from the first dead cat bounce of the bull market on each occasion. And then we reject from that line. We reject from that line simultaneously for a rejection of 67 on the monthly chart RSI. That has happened now on 3 separate occasions. So this is 3 confirmed data points at this point. And yes, we did see a brief rejection from the yellow horizontal line last month, but now we are edging above it. However, obviously when it comes to a macro trend that has lasted since 2013, we can't really say it's invalidated based on a 5% movement above a macro line that is relevant on a monthly chart, stemming back from when Bitcoin's $150, right? We need more than that. We need more evidence. And so what I've said, and I'll keep saying it now, is that if Bitcoin closes the monthly candle above 49K, we will invalidate this macro trend. The macro trend, of course, suggesting there will be a rejection from this region that will send us downwards towards this dotted yellow line, which is down at around 32K. So this macro trend does suggest that Bitcoin sees a more significant correction down to like 35K, 32K. And if we are to break further to the upside, close a monthly candle above 49K, or break above the nearest resistance zone above this level, which is 53K, this macro trend will be invalidated. I'll say it one more time. This macro trend predicts a move downwards. In order to invalidate the macro trend and continue upwards, we need to either close a monthly candle above 49K or break above 53K on any time frame. Okay, until then, this macro trend is valid. And until then, the macro charts, like it or not, do predict a rejection here for Bitcoin in a pre-halving correction, and then they predict we go upwards after the halving. So we're not actually in the clear yet. I know there's been some massively bullish progress in flipping 50K, that's for sure, and the short-term charts are undeniably looking good. But right now, we're not actually in the clear yet. We have the RSI here forming a new kind of resistance line stemming backwards from a couple of weeks in November, going through to right now, a new fresh resistance line on the RSI could lead to rejection downwards all the way at the bottom of this yellow line. You know, there's stuff that could occur here that could send Bitcoin downwards. I'm not overly convinced in the idea of this 49k level being completely broken yet. I think right now Bitcoin is very much clamped. It's very much clamped between 53k and this 49 to 48k level. I don't think there's any real, you know, decisiveness here. If we zoom out and look at this chart, you know, look at this chart with no bias for a second. What does this chart tell you, right? For me, it shows an overextension. That's me personally. I don't think we've seen a break of a macro level since back here in March 2023. We've seen 11 months of permanently upside price action. Now, this is not to say that Bitcoin has to go down. None of this is to say that it's necessarily, I'm not necessarily predicting that Bitcoin's going to crash. I'm just observing the trends. The trends are, well, this macro trend here says that Bitcoin will correct. And right now, I don't see the adequate evidence to support the fact that Bitcoin is destined to go higher on the short-term time frame above 53k. So again, I think there's a little bit of a distinction that needs to be made. I'm not really comfortable making massive predictions based on TA right now because the phase in the cycle we're in is so it's so contentious. It's such a weird phase in the market cycle. It's a phase in which we have, you know, the step between kind of the bear market and the bull market in reality. It's like, okay, you know, we've had kind of this you know, overarching downwards trend since 2022. Obviously, we're not in a bear market anymore, right? We're in more of like an accumulation bullish phase, but we're not in the full bull market yet as per 4-year cycle. We haven't seen the halving yet. So we're kind of in between two kind of major macro, I guess you could say, situations. And in each of those situations, we have so much predictability, but right now we don't have much. And we have ETF, you know, the ETF really has been a plague on Bitcoin to a certain extent. You know, it's obviously very bullish for Bitcoin. 10 to 15% of Bitcoin spot trading volume right now is coming purely from ETFs, and the vast majority of that is buying. But that has led to massive distortions between what we can expect by TA and what actually happens. TA is just not really working that well right now. You know, we saw even just a couple of days ago, if we go to the hourly chart, you know, a very clear ascending wedge formation. I can't exactly remember where I drew it from. Something like this. Here it was. Very clear ascending wedge formation. Something like that, right? Again, can't exactly remember the perfect drawing of it. I think it was something like this. That was just ridiculous, like a ascending channel formation. There was a wedge as well. Just breaking to the upside. Just out of nowhere, just completely breaking to the upside with, you know, at major macro resistance. We have things like this that have just occurred time and time again since September, which are so clearly, you know, as a result of the bullish ETF price action. So we do have a situation where there is very real possibility here on Bitcoin that we just keep going upwards. And that's something we can't really measure or predict. So right now, I'm not really confident in TA. I'm really not, but I have to trust TA to a certain extent because TA is measurable data. You know, all these narratives, these ETF buying, all this stuff, it's not really measurable in the same way that charting formations are measurable and structures are measurable. TA might not be working amazingly right now on Bitcoin specifically. Altcoins seem fine, but the fact of the matter is the structures and the levels are still relevant because we're still interacting with these support and resistance zones in a adequate manner. The direction of the breaks is a bit weird, it's a bit distorted, but right now we're still treating these levels as resistance, we're still rejecting from the major levels, bouncing off the major support zones. It's not like TA doesn't matter at all. We still have lines forming like this yellow line here. It's just the probabilities of breaks to the upside and downside have been distorted massively by a lot of the new narratives that are going on here. People just seem like they're not really willing to sell. But all of this goes without saying that we still have to trust the charts to some degree. And right now, what do the charts suggest? Well, the macro charts are still not in the clear. Okay, the macro chart we see here is still suggesting that there is a possibility that we see a rejection from this 49k zone. All right, and until we clear 53k, and until we get a monthly candle close above 49k, that is still what the macro charts are saying, and that holds some degree of authority on what you should be doing with Bitcoin, in my opinion. Now, I'm lucky enough to be in a situation where I've bought Bitcoin way back here in December and November 2022, and obviously bought more along the way upwards. But I've just been holding my Bitcoin this entire time, not sold, I've not bought. I haven't bought since we broke above 38.5k, and I haven't sold at all, none of it, since 2022. So I'm lucky enough to just be holding right now. But for a lot of people who are on the sidelines still, you know, it's definitely a situation in which, you know, it's unfortunate. But what I will say is this, from a TA perspective, if Bitcoin broke below 46k and broke this yellow ascending line, that would be indicative, in my opinion, of downside moves starting to occur, because that would confirm that this move looks a lot like November 2021, sorry, and the fractal would play out. Now, what do I mean by that? Because this is the main part of the video I want to show you. I've kind of covered all that information before, and perhaps I should have brought this up sooner in the video, but I don't plan my videos. I kind of freestyle them to an extent. I'll show you this, though. Right now, we have a situation where funding rates are overly positive, which is indicative of the price being exhausted to the upside, which is also lining up with what we're seeing on multiple time frames. But what I'll show you is this chart here. On the left-hand side of the screen, we'll see November 2021. Now, November 2021 was the bull market, of course, the bull market top. If we zoom out, you can recognize that chart. Anyone can at this point. But the bull market top, and I've kind of cut off, the rest of the candles and made it look like where we are right now on the normal chart. We can see pretty intense similarities here. I've kind of color-coded the different zones so you can, compare them and put them together in your head and visualize what I'm seeing here. But right now we have a situation where, in November 2021, we saw a move upwards, a vicious move upwards, right? A spike to the upside before this red box here. It's exactly what we saw this time in October 2023. We then went into an upwards consolidation zone as seen by this red box, right? Same thing we saw here in November going into December. We then went into kind of another leg to the upside and then another upwards accumulation in this orange box. Same thing right here in December. We then saw the first peak, okay, of this structure in yellow. Okay, there's our peak. We went downwards into a trough. It formed some sort of rounding bottom formation. In this case, in 2024, it was actually inverted head and shoulders candlestick formation. In this case, it was more of just a rounding bottom formation vaguely. Then we went into our second leg to the upside in blue. Okay, we topped out. That could be what we're seeing right now. And then if we actually go ahead and delete the candle replays, we can see that what actually happened. And we'll go back to November 2021 here so I can show you exactly what occurred here. After the second top in blue, we crashed downwards on Bitcoin over the course of a couple of months, okay? Now, this actually led to the start of a bear market in 2021. I don't think there'll be a bear market starting again now, but I think in 2021, this was the part of the cycle, of course, that, the 4-year cycle predicted the top was in, and so we started a bear market from a cyclical level. If that was in a regular period of market cycle, we probably wouldn't have gone down all the way for a year, but it certainly did lead to a correction. And the structure, in my opinion, is very similar right now between what we saw in November 2021. And that structure does, in my opinion, indicate that Bitcoin will be going downwards if we do play out that fractal properly. What would that look like? Well, we can take a fractal from November 2011. Here's where we can make the screen. Let me go ahead and make the screen like this again. We'll delete all this. We'll take a little fractal drawing here from the peak in November, and let's just take it that far down, right? Let's go ahead and apply that to the current price action. Now, obviously, it's not going to fit perfectly because it's a completely different part of the cycle and a completely different price point, but it should be interesting to see where Bitcoin goes from this if we take that fractal. Now, forget about the price, right? We can because the price isn't relevant. It's a completely different part of the cycle. The price is much higher. It's going to be exacerbated downside. It's the structure that matters, right? If we look at something like this, that would take us right back down to 38.5K, and then we could potentially go even lower with a second leg downwards of something like 35 and come up like that. Now, in my opinion, that fractal was entirely valid because I don't see much of a structural difference right now between right now and November 2021. Now, the fact that there is a structural similarity between now and November 2021, which was the top of the bull market and definitely a pattern of exhaustion that led to a brutal correction, is another supporting piece of evidence to suggest that, hey, look, maybe we shouldn't be disregarding this macro trend too early. Okay, that's all it is. I'm not predicting anything necessarily, but right now, I'm just observing the macro trend. I'm saying, look, we're not out of the woods here yet. We need to be clearing 53K or closing a monthly above 49K for me to be sure that this macro trend is broken. Right now, I'm not convinced at all that this macro trend is broken. And given the fact that the macro trend is not broken, what are the probabilities here? Well, one of them is it will break, and one of them is it will continue, and we will correct downwards for a regular pre-halving correction, as is indicated by this macro trend, and also as is indicated by the similarities between right now and November 2021. So Bitcoin is not out of the woods, and you shouldn't be acting like it is currently. That's my opinion on Bitcoin right now. Obviously, the trend is your friend until it ends. And I would love to sit here and say that, oh, no, Bitcoin's going to crash, it's imminent. But unfortunately, it's been proven time and time again by things like the ETF narratives that it's not that simple right now. All we can do is observe and wait and react. Right now, I'm not convinced that the bull market has started. I'm not convinced that this macro trend is broken. And so I'm still waiting and still kind of observing and waiting on this macro trend playing out, which would be a pre-halving correction. I'm not overly convinced of either scenario right now, but I do understand that the macro trends do hold a degree of authority that we need to respect, and the trend is your friend until it ends. So right now, I do think you need to be overly cautious. I don't think the possibility of downside moves is off the table at all. In fact, if I was looking at TA alone, I would say it's the more likely scenario, because obviously the trend is your friend until it ends. I apologize for my caution. I don't want to make bold claims in this price region, because I've seen that bold claims are not easy to make currently. That's just the simple reality. As I've observed since September this year, it's just been only upwards essentially. The selling pressure has just been minute from all regards. So, realistically, a perfect follow of this macro trend would have been a rejection from 49k and then downwards. So the fact that we're even back up here puts doubt on the macro trend. But again, it's not invalidated yet, so we need to treat it seriously. And there are similarities between the November 2021 top right now that you may not have seen before. So act cautiously, be patient, observe, and react. This is not a time, in my opinion, to make strict predictions. Guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Like I said at the start of the video, go ahead and check out the VIP group. Go ahead and check out these exchanges with my referral links below, and go ahead and check out the course. They help the channel a lot if you check them out, and helps yourself as well. Getting on a good exchange with low fees is what you need in a cryptocurrency market. You need to learn how to trade. You need to have good kind of platforms for which you're getting your information as well, which you can find in the VIP group. You need to be connected to a community. All of those things are beneficial to you as well. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. Cheers.